This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
All of our effort and energy goes into making it to the top. We work so hard and give 150% of ourselves to achieve our goals. Getting tunnel vision and not seeing the potential pressures and dangers around us. We make it to the top of the mountain and believe that we're good for a while. While we were climbing, there was a hunger inside of us that can never be duplicated. What is discovered is that the surface area to stand on the top of the mountain is much smaller than on the climb up. One step to the right or to the left, and we fall. Unless we find a new goal, a new mountain to climb. The human species instinctually thrives on the pursuit rather than the achievement. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and on this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome our new friend, John Valentin, to talk about the suffering of a pro baseball player. Now, John's made it to the top of the mountain, and he's here to talk to us about the journey. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Excelled at the top of the mountain, too.
We got some stats for you.
Great career.
Thanks for coming
in. Thank you for having me.
Before we start anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsors, and that's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody, but we do trust Toyota of Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com. And our brand new sponsor, that's 3 Acres Luxury Condominiums. Go to 3acres.com. It's a wonderful facility in Jersey City. It's got everything you need. You never need to go anywhere. So thank you so much. Please support our sponsors. And then back to John. John, you're another Hoboken guy.
Jersey City.
You came to us from our Hoboken poll.
Our Hoboken contingent.
That's my background. Yep. Jersey City, Hoboken. Yep. 2nd Street bred. Absolutely.
St. Anthony's High School.
Yep.
So what's the hospital in Jersey City that you were born in?
Margaret Haig.
That you were hatched in.
No, I was laid. Margaret Haig Hospital.
Margaret Haig. Were you also born there?
No, actually, I went back.
Originally from New York, aren't you?
Well, actually, I went back to where my brother was born. I have a 2-year-old brother that was born in Nassau Hospital in Mineola. So I was living in Jersey City at the time, but I went back to my mom's old doctor. Yeah.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Now, John, every week we take a question from our audience. And this week's social media question comes from 101 Jane 57. I don't know where they come up with these names, but it says, what is the hardest decision that you ever had to make? You're our guest today. I'm going to pass this one off to you. I'm assuming they're in your professional life.
Well, that's a good question. I have done a lot of good things. Very happy with the way my career ended and started and played. But I would have loved to have hit the ball more to right field.
You had a 279 career average.
I know, but if I would have hit the ball to right field, I probably would have hit 300.
See, now you weren't playing against a shift back then either.
That's true. But I lifted the ball, so that's hitting the ball off the wall in Fenway Park made my career.
That's one of the most storied ballparks. I've been to Fenway Park twice. And see, that's still my favorite. I used to I'm not a Yankees fan, but I used to like Yankee Stadium, the old stadium, because there's history involved. Now, Boston is one of the few places where the history's still there. So I love it.
Absolutely.
Mike, what do you think?
Well, I went to Fenway Park one time and got thrown out in the second inning, but that's besides the point.
Was that the hardest decision you ever made to go to Fenway Park?
It wasn't my decision to get thrown out. It was security.
What do you think?
In our career, I think my hardest decision was to retire.
You stole my answer, you son of a bitch.
You should have went to you first then.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, that had to be the hardest thing. When you retired, it had to be a hard decision to retire, to separate yourself from the career that you've had.
Yes, but injuries played a little part of that. I couldn't do it.
Same with us.
I couldn't do it as good as I used to do it. So it was somewhat easy, but you always want to play.
It's got to come to the time where injuries, where you're not going to be the same player you were. So it's I guess it's time to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It tells you. Your body tells you. Your mind tells you. Your heart is a different story.
See, with him and I, my answer is the same as Mike's.
Ours was mental injuries where we couldn't really go back
because we were both involved in critical incidents, and we were forced to retire. Where one day we went to work and the next day we weren't. It wasn't our. See, I think a lot of it has to do with your choices. Like if you left on your terms, on with a whole. We didn't leave.
I'd
on
still
our
be
terms.
playing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we didn't
At
have a choice.
55.
I think now you could go to right field because your bat's not that
That's
fast.
right.
So you
There
just
you
push
go.
it to right field.
There you go. They pitched me away all the time.
You know,
so.
you could still be playing. I think Jamie Moyer played till he was 49. I was reading a list. There was one guy who played till he was like 66, but that was in the early 1900s.
I believe Omar Vizquel played until he was 50, 52. So
Ozzie Smith was up there too, wasn't he?
I don't think Ozzie was, but Omar was terrific. Great player.
So, John, you know, you're a legend in New Jersey. You know, it's always nice to see a Jersey boy moving on up and making it to the big leagues, because we hold these people in this state. I don't know. New Jersey's such a weird area. Wouldn't you agree?
I wouldn't say that. I think being from New Jersey is pretty cool.
It is, but when one of our own makes it up to the top, it's like we gather around them. They become our own. We protect them.
Well, this is the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
So you got Jersey, you got Boston, you got Philadelphia. You're going to get it straight.
Well, you know
Yeah,
what?
that's good. That's a good answer.
I had a conversation with someone the other day. It's considered true Jersey because when you're from Jersey, you're true. You're a true person. Wherever you go in the country, people are going to know you're from New Jersey because you're true. You tell it like it is.
Pretty much, good or bad.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Whether you want to hear it or not,
Yeah.
you're going to
I
hear
mean,
it.
you try to be polite. Obviously, you want to be polite all the time and try to get your point across, but it comes out.
You're still from Jersey. Yeah.
But Jersey City, or I'll even encompass it, Hudson County polite isn't polite.
Well,
in the Midwest.
it's a city. It's Jersey City, so you're going to get a little bit of the good, the bad, and the indifferent. You know, so
But they're going to get your attitude and your perspective on it.
that's true. You know,
That-
you're
that's
always
why
going to
that's
get
why
it
it's
straight.
True
So,
Jersey.
you know, what's so great about being from New Jersey is New York, right? New York is there, Jersey's there. You're always competing with each other in a sense. You always want to, you know, New Yorkers don't like New Jersey. New Jersey
like
don't like New York.
We're like
you know,
we're
in a
considered like the
sense.
redheaded stepchild of New York, you know.
But it's kind of cool to be from New Jersey. But
Like I said, wherever you go, you could take someone out of their area, but you can't take their area out of you.
that's
And
most
New
likely,
Jersey
yeah.
is always in your heart.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Well, New Jersey is one of those ways of speaking where no matter when you open your mouth, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're from either New York or New Jersey."
That
That's
is
what it
true.
is.
That is
And
true.
but I do appreciate you coming here. I want you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, where you grew up. You know, where'd you first start? Let's put that.
I grew up in downtown Jersey City. I went to St. Michael's Grammar School, and also to the high school.
But what's is Marion section?
No,
the Heights,
downtown near St. Michael's, St. Anthony's, which is like Hamilton Park area, downtown by Hoboken.
Yeah.
Because everything about Jersey City has a section. You're either from the Heights, you're from Marion, you're from Country Village.
Right. Yeah. So that I walked to school, St. Michael's, and then when St. Michael's closed,
They closed down.
I went to St. Anthony's, which was like 2 blocks away. I played for Hurley in basketball.
Oh yeah, Bobby Hurley. Yeah, absolutely.
And you had
Bobby Hurley Sr.
Senior, yeah.
and Junior used to play with us when he was in 7th and 8th grade. But yes, played for the basketball team, played for the baseball team.
Did you play in the Siegel Classic in South Jersey?
I
Because
don't
Bobby Hurley did.
I don't recall.
So the Siegel Classic was I went to Holy Spirit High School in South Jersey in Absecon, and so they had the Siegel Classic where they brought basketball teams from all across the country. And I know Jersey City. I know Bobby Hurley played there, and you know it was a big thing because he was looking up. His career was looking real big, and he came down there. They had to shut it down because there was a couple shootings out front. But yeah. But I was wondering about that if you played on the basketball team.
I did play for 2 years. Yeah, I played with David Rivers.
David Rivers, yeah, I saw that.
Um,
went on to Notre Dame, correct?
Notre Dame,
Yeah.
and went to the NBA. Then went to Europe to play. Yes, very good player.
So where'd you go to play your high school ball? Or you played at St. Anthony's, but did you play baseball there as well?
I played baseball and basketball at St. Anthony's. Yes, it was. The baseball program was pretty decent. I wouldn't say it was the greatest program in a sense. The best.
It wasn't as good as Seton Hall Prep. I just want to say that.
Hudson Catholic and St.
Hudson.
Peter's Prep were probably the best teams in our division.
In Hudson County.
In
But
Hudson County.
Seton Hall Prep was probably the best in the state.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah. Seton Hall Prep has a great reputation of having
Till he got there.
having a good program. It's run by, Michael Shepard
A
Jr.
Seton Hall University graduate is their head coach.
And very good player, great guy.
So when did they first realize, or you first realized, that you have a vocation, you have a talent for baseball? Like there's the guys who play, and then there's guys who play. Because I remember the first time I saw one of the most natural baseball players I ever saw, and he actually ended up going to Georgia Tech, a kid by the name of Kevin Hallman. I watched him play, and it was an extension. It was like you and I, or not you, because you obviously, it was like Mike and I breathing. That's how he played ball. When did you first realize that?
Pretty much was not to be overly confident, but I had a pretty good little league experience. I played on the All-Star team. I played shortstop. I pitched. I had a pretty good arm. I felt that I was somewhat better than most kids in a sense. You make the All-Star team, but I was very small and skinny. And I was very small and skinny when I was in high school for St. Anthony's and for the basketball team as well.
I did see like your rookie card when I was looking you up, and you're awfully skinny.
Yeah, I was really skinny. When a kid is skinny, you somewhat, you have a chip on your shoulder all the time. Being from Jersey City, you have to be a fighter in a sense. That's my background. When you play I had very, very good coaches. I had Mike Hogan was a good coach in my high school. The Fa was a good coach.
Eddie Ford, that's what
Eddie
I was saying.
Ford.
The Fa.
Yeah.
He's synonymous with baseball. He used to have the Fa's Corner in the Jersey Journal all the time.
I used to field the baseball the wrong way, and he actually showed me how to field the right way. And from that point on, I was basically fielding pretty well, and I got better and better. So when I was a senior, and Mike Hogan, was a great coach, he took me to different camps. I went to North Carolina camp. I got recognized by coaches from James Madison University who liked me.
You had something extra.
Yes. Well, he always took the good kids, and try to put them in a good position to be seen. So I went to different camps. And by doing that, I learned from college players. I also went to the Seton Hall camp, and I learned from them as well. So when I was a senior, my brother, who's 2 years older than I am, went to Seton Hall, wanted to go to Seton Hall, had a good criminal justice program. He became an investigator in Newark for the prosecutor's office.
Very nice.
He became captain, but I didn't get any scholarships.
I guarantee your brother worked underneath Tommy Adams.
Possibly.
Guaranteed.
I don't know.
He was deputy chief there. He's a very dear friend of mine.
I don't know the names. Because I was small, I wasn't recruited highly. And Seton Hall actually came to see me play at St. Anthony's, and they actually said that I was too small, in a sense, that I was too skinny, too small.
So now
I couldn't play in Division I.
That chip on your shoulder just got bigger.
Well, when you're competing, you want to prove everybody wrong, right? So my brother was going to Seton Hall. I had an opportunity to play for St. Peter's Prep on Kennedy Boulevard. Now, I didn't want to play for St. Peter's at the time. They weren't a good program at the time, and I felt like I wanted to challenge myself. And I said to myself, I'm going to follow my brother's footsteps. I'm going to go get a good education. I always went to St. Michael's and St. Anthony's. They were, they were Catholic schools. Seton Hall's a Catholic school. Not that I'm like super religious, but I grew up a Catholic. Okay. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to try out for the team, and they're going to see me every day, and they're going to see and I'm going to try to prove to them that I can play the game or I can't.
Or you get a good education.
Or I get a good education.
You had to walk on.
I walked on. Yeah. Yes. After there were 50 kids trying out, they kept 8.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was one of the 8. John Shepard, your friend, John Shepard, Seton Hall Prep, comes back from North Carolina as a sophomore. And he was a shortstop at Seton Hall Prep.
And his father was the head coach at Seton Hall University.
And his father was a head coach. And after playing on the B team, for about a week or two, our senior captain was a shortstop. He was the shortstop. His name was Joe Armini. He came up with a sore elbow, in a sense. He couldn't play shortstop anymore for like a 2-week period that he needed to rest. Okay, so the coaches said, why don't you come play with us? Because I was a more defensive player than I was an offensive player. And then John played second. I played short. The rest is history, in a sense. I played very, very well. Joe Armini became the designated hitter, the DH, and I was, playing shortstop, batting ninth. I was batting ninth, and there's a book out there that says, it's the three hit men and the guy who batted ninth, and I'm the guy. So
Owen T. Carroll Field.
Yes.
So that's the Larry Bowa, and this is why I always admired Larry Bowa. Again, being a Philly fan, I'm going to bring up a Philly guy. I always admired Larry Bowa because he had given many interviews where his coaches and people throughout his life said, "Kid, you're too small. You're not going to play." But he said, "To hell with them." So I remember we're talking. I want to let everybody in the audience know this. We're talking a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, well, with suffering and this." There it is, right there. That's the adversity you just overcame. Yes. You were not meant to play on that baseball team.
You walked onto a D1 baseball team.
Yes.
And went up
not being recruited, yes. And what was great about that, in a sense, that every player on that team was fantastic. Oh, yeah. I mean, Martise Robinson.
Another guy I went to high school with.
Fantastic first baseman that should have been had a 10-year career in the MLB.
He batted .409, I think, his senior year.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It was crazy.
It was fantastic. And Mo Vaughn came the very next year.
Mo Vaughn. Wow, that's a name I have not heard in a long time.
You had Craig Biggio.
He played baseball with a Hall of Famer.
Yes. We had great teammates. Mike Shepard.
I'm sure
Mike Shepard Sr. was a fantastic coach, and so was the assistant coach, was Eddie Blankmeyer. Ed Blankmeyer was fantastic. And he basically, went on to coach St. John's,
Did you grow in college? I mean, you said you were a small, skinny kid. Did you grow a little bit?
I didn't grow until, in the minor leagues. Well, let's just say from my senior year to my freshman year, I grew 3 or 4 inches, gained about 10 pounds, but more than anything, I was a really pretty good defensive player. And that basically kept me on the field to be able to get drafted. Because I remember my freshman year when, we would play games and there'd be a ton of scouts behind the fence watching our games, playing St. John's or whoever, Rutgers. And the Red Sox scout basically touches me on my shoulder and says, kid, you can play in the big leagues. And that blew me away.
Wow.
That blew me away.
As an 18, or I'm sorry, you're probably 21, 22-year-old kid being told that, you can play.
No, I was, you're talking about an 18-year-old kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're a junior, you're 21,
Right.
So he tells me that I can play defensively in the big leagues. I needed to get stronger, and I needed to, hit the weights and eat good. And, the light bulb turns on, right? You feel like you get, for all the years that you played, Little League, Babe Ruth, 4B, whatever, Summer League, you always want that recognition from a person who is, somewhat has value.
Highly esteemed in the baseball world.
So when he tells me that, I can play, I mean, I knew I can play, but at what level can I play at? And then when he, basically tells me that I can play, I'm like, okay, I know I can play, but thank you. Now I got to get stronger. Now I got to get, on the weights. I have to eat better and basically prove to everybody that I can play.
As a child, all of us included, you watch pro baseball. You're a baseball player, football player, whatever sport you like to play. You always dream of going to the pros one day. Everybody does.
Yeah, but I'm sure every little league says, I watch TV, I want to be an MLB player.
Right.
But, you're not really believing that.
Reality hits you home when like 1 out of 100,000 kids.
I'm
gets in
sure
there.
I'm sure I said it myself.
Of course, we all did. We all did. But then
You all had that time in your backyard where you're playing like wiffle ball and you're sitting there saying it's a World Series. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. Now you walked on and Seton Hall. Did they wind up giving you a scholarship before
My sophomore year.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Because I played well. Mike Shepard Sr., gave me,
God rest his soul. Great
rest
man.
his soul, gave me a scholarship, not a full scholarship because they did not give many full scholarships. You get 11, I believe, in college, and they split them to, with all the guys in a sense. They give everybody some money.
But now your dream becomes somewhat of a reality. There's still a lot of hard work and there's still many steps to go. But it's actually now, hey, I can do this. I might be this might be a reality. As a young kid, that's got to build. First of all, it's got to do wonders for your confidence, but it's also got to do wonders for your work ethic because you're not just working to work anymore. You're actually working towards something.
Being a small kid, a skinny kid, you're always trying to prove yourself, right? You want to try to be the best player on the team as far as whatever skill you have. If you're a good hitter, you want to be the best hitter. If you're a good fielder, you want to be the best fielder. I was that guy. I wanted to be the best fielder.
And I think that's what it takes.
And
you were a Hudson County kid.
Yeah. Well, I was a product of the FA.
The FA. Now, I mean, you brought up the FA. The FA is Eddie Ford. Eddie Ford was like the guru of baseball in Jersey City, right?
Yes.
He used to have, I was saying before, he had an article in the Jersey Journal, I believe it was. It was called the Fa's Corner. And he used to write about all the different Jersey City kids and everything. The FA was fantastic.
The pool of talent from that area, the pool of talent is pretty broad.
Well, in Jersey, you have a lot of talent that plays multiple sports. So the FA had, he was associated with the White Sox at the time as a scout.
He was a scout.
As a scout.
He was a scout for the White Sox.
So, getting good feedback from him was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, you're getting feedback from guys that you look up to and say, okay, what do I need to do to get better? And I was one of those kids that, I listened. I was focused. I wasn't out playing around, hanging out on the corner with friends that were doing bad stuff. I was not one of those guys.
Now you enter into the minor leagues. From my understanding, from people who have been through that whole journey, that's a whole different thing in itself.
Well, you were drafted by the Red Sox, right?
Got drafted
in the fifth round?
Fifth round with the Red Sox. I was the first infielder taken, so they took 4 pitchers, and then they took me. The person that drafted me was the guy who
tapped you on the shoulder.
Touched me on my shoulder. Pretty interesting. So do
you remember his name?
His name is Matt Cesny, great scout for the Red Sox. When he signed, when I got drafted, and I knew that it might be him that was basically telling the Red Sox, you need to take this tough little skinny kid in a sense, and he can play defense in the big leagues. I'm sure if he gets stronger, he will turn out to be something. And that's exactly what happened in a sense. I got stronger every year.
But getting back to that, where were you and what was it like when you heard you got drafted?
Actually, I was very, very nervous and did not want to be home.
See, the baseball draft is different from the NFL draft. Like the NFL draft, it's aired live. Baseball is just like...
Yeah, you got.
They do it now, though.
Yeah,
they do it now with the MLB Network. But that day, I wanted to just go to the mall and relax. And if someone called the house, they would call me. And that's basically what happened. You need to come home. You got drafted, and we're not going to tell you who, but you got. So I basically got home and found out it was the Red Sox. And
now you enter into the minor league world. You get separated. You're making probably nothing, and you're just on the road.
Minor leaguers don't make anything right now either.
Yeah,
so, and you're on buses from here to there.
You're playing barnstorm baseball.
Yeah, but it's great.
Yeah,
it really is. You're living out a dream now. Okay,
but now you're getting paid to do your dream.
Yeah, so it's no longer a fun thing. Well, it's still fun. I mean, it's great. You're with guys trying to make the big leagues on the same bus, in the same situation. You're rooming with guys, still, just like college in a sense, but now the hashtag is you're a pro. Okay, so now you're like, okay, now I'm playing with all the guys in the country that are now supposed to be good. Now it's my time to see if I match up. So every day that was the chore in a sense.
Throughout your minor league career, how long were you in the minors?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Did that doubt ever creep into your head? Because doubt is a dream killer.
No.
Never.
I was going to say
That's awesome.
3.5 years in the minors isn't long. You hear some guys that dwindle in the minors for years.
But I wasn't the kind of guy in a sense that was always focused on the big leagues. I was focused on being the best player on my team.
Best player in the moment.
In the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's an interesting concept. Be the best player on your team rather than, so you have to climb this mountain before you can climb the other mountain.
Short goals, in a sense. Basically,
from single A to double A, and then
to actually, get drafted and say, "Oh, I'm going to be in the big leagues in 2 years." That's not a reality. You have to prove it every day, and that's basically was my my mantra in a sense. I really wanted to say, I'm going to come to the park every day. I'm going to play well. I'm going to try to compete with everybody in the country who just got drafted.
Is every strikeout a kick in the ass, and then every hit is like, okay, now I can do this?
No, because it's a learning experience, because every time you go up to the plate, there are things that you do well, and you're going to do them well. For instance, I hit the ball in very well. So when a pitcher challenged me because I was skinny and, small, I got challenged a lot. Batting ninth, right? This kid can't hit. Throw me a fastball, I get hits. Okay, so I get hits. Then they say, okay, you can't throw this kid in anymore. You got to throw him away. Then you get hits away, or you can't get hits away. They start throwing you breaking balls. Can you hit breaking balls? Can you hit changeups, sliders, things of that nature? And that's how they figure you out. Basically, that's how it goes in the minor leagues. So I did pretty well my first year as an A-baller. Went to short season, Elmira, New York, played the summer because you get drafted in June, played the rest of the summer. Did okay. First experience. The very next year, I played a full season A-ball. I played half a season in Florida State League. I hit 275, somewhere around there. I hit 5 homers. I know all my stats like they're here, okay? So, then I went to the Carolina League and played for another A-ball team, which was considered another high A team. I hit 9 home runs. So I hit the fastball really, really well for a little kid, a little skinny kid. And they liked that. Play defense, put them in a 9-hole. And all of a sudden, you get a fastball, you get to get some hits.
You get power from the 9-hole. That's a score.
That's a score, right? What was the difference maker for me and what made me different from a lot of other players, whenever they threw me off-speed pitches, I did not swing because most pitchers don't throw strikes with off-speed pitching. They throw curveballs in the dirt, sliders that break away, changeups down. And if you have a good eye in a sense that you don't swing at bad pitches, you always put yourself in a position to hit fastballs. That's what I did very, very well.
Now, how'd your parents feel about this journey to this point?
Well, what basically they were very proud, obviously, to have a kid who was going to now play baseball, right? To see how far I can go. But, they always said that if I did not finish, if I did not get to the big leagues and I needed to finish my college, to get, to graduate in a sense, I would go back. Okay. So they were very, very happy and very supportive of me. And I was able to climb the ladder and basically play well.
And then that one day comes, John, you're going up.
You get the call up. How did that happen?
Well, it's a little bit of a story because when I went up to Double A, that was the most challenging level in a sense. You get the guys who are very, very talented. They throw very hard, but they don't have, a whole lot of command in a sense. They can't throw strikes. So I had trouble hitting at that level. But, my manager at the time was Butch Hobson. Okay, he was the third baseman of the Red Sox.
Another Red Sox player.
Yeah, he was the manager at the time. He fell kind of in love with me in a sense that he played with a shortstop that was Rick Burleson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I know that name.
and he said I reminding him of Rick Burleson. He said that I was a tough little kid that was a fighter in a sense of trying to compete every day.
A gritty player.
A gritty player, yes. And he fell in love with me even though I did not do well. He goes to AAA the very next year. And because I did not do well, they sent me back to AA. But in spring training, when you go to spring training, you basically get to play at the next level to see if you can hang with the next level. So I was playing with the AAA guys, and those really were the AA guys playing at the AAA level. The AAA guys go on the 40-man roster, which goes to the big leagues because when, in spring training, they have to bring in the AAA guys to fill in for the next 5 innings because the big leaguers only play 2 to 3 innings in a sense.
And then they go home. They don't even stay for the rest of the game.
They don't even stay. Yes. So those AAA guys, they basically see if they can hang in the big league level. So those AAA guys are always trying to prove themselves to be a big leaguer. I'm trying to prove myself to not go back to AA. They send me back to AA, but Butch Hobson goes to AAA. And once there was an opportunity for me to go up there, he was in my corner. Mm-hmm. He says, I want him. I want him to play shortstop for me. Guess what? I go up there. A month later, he's telling the Red Sox that I want John up here because he's a really good shortstop. I don't care what he hits. I want him defensively. I go up there. I start to play well. I get stronger. For whatever reason, AAA pitching is a little bit easier because they throw strikes.
A little bit more control.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I've heard that from single A to double A is the hardest step. From double A to triple A is easier from single A to double A.
Absolutely. Yeah. Double A is the place where you're going to have trouble because the talent is there. Young fireballers that don't know what they're doing. When you go to triple A, you get guys that have been around, trying to make the big leagues, have been in the big leagues.
And came back down.
So they're professionals. They know how to throw strikes.
And what year are we talking about now?
This was, I got drafted, right? 88, 89, I was in A-ball. 90, I was in double A. 91, I was in triple A. So in 91, I did very well in triple A. Butch Hobson's the manager. He gets the big league job. Hello.
Nice.
Ding,
Yes.
ding,
So,
ding.
you know what? It just takes that one person to believe in you.
That's right.
And that's what
That's exactly what happened here.
It's
So-
amazing that a guy
so
like
he
Butch
gets-
Hobson. Butch Hobson's like a
He's my best friend.
that's great. That is
Yeah.
fantastic.
So he believed in me. Okay, so he gets the big league job, and there you go. I'm in AAA. He says, be patient. I go up to the big leagues because they now have to protect you after 3 years. They got to put you on the 40-man roster. So if you're on the 40-man roster or you're not on the 40-man roster, that means you're one of the 40 best players in their organization. So if someone gets hurt, you're going to the big leagues. So I go into spring training. I play great. He's the manager. He's like, I want him in the big leagues.
Wow.
I want him in the big leagues. But I'm hitting now, okay? I'm hitting with more power, doubles. I'm hitting some home runs. I'm walking. I didn't strike out much because more of a contact hitter in a sense. He says, I don't care what you hit. I want him for defense. But I was hitting. So in 92, I went back to AAA because he said, be patient. Let's see what happens. The team was doing terrible. They were in last place. last place.
And I love that time of year, too, because I'm a Yankee fan. But go ahead.
Yes, I know you are. Okay, so the team's in last place, and usually in September they do the September call-ups. But right after the All-Star break, he says, we're not in a position to win in 92. So he says, let's bring up John and a couple other guys. Mo Vaughn went up, did very well. Okay, I came up, and I hit 280.
Damn.
280, batting ninth. They said, this is your job next year.
You know, I remember that scene in The Rookie with Dennis Quaid about,
it was an amazing journey in a
about
sense.
Mike Morris. And they have a very beautiful scene where he walks into the Devil Rays locker room for the first time and he sees the jersey, the Devil Rays jersey with his name on it.
Right, that's the picture, right?
Yeah, what was that like to go into the Red Sox locker room, wherever you joined the team, whether it was at home or away, and see Valentin on the back?
It's very overwhelming,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. And not only to see Valentin, I'm playing next to Wade Boggs.
Wow.
Yeah,
You know,
Hopping over third baseline?
That's what I was going to say, too.
No,
I
chicken
mean,
sandwich. I'm sorry. It was chicken sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah.
To
I'm
be next to Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
He was the locker right next to me.
I was gonna say that's got to be so. I mean, I got chills just thinking about it. Like you being just a regular hardworking baseball player, now you're playing with people that you looked up to your whole life. I mean, that's got to be fantastic.
And what's interesting, when I got the call, right, we were playing in Scranton, the AAA team of the Philadelphia Phillies.
The
Okay,
Scranton Wilkes-Barre Red Barons.
the Red Barons. That's right. So I get the call, and I'm going up.
In 93?
No,
92.
This is 92. This is after the All-Star break. I'm going. It's July 27th. The All-Star break is the 10th, 11th, and 12th. July 27th. The 26th. I get the call. I'm gonna face Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown, an ace for the Texas Rangers at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I missed batting practice because my flight was delayed from New Jersey to Boston, whatever. Okay, I get to the park. Batting practice is over. It's like almost 6 o'clock. We play at 7. I'm like, I'm not playing today. He puts me in the lineup.
Wow.
He says, don't think about it. Just go out and play.
Yeah, you're only playing on the biggest stage in baseball. Don't worry about it.
Don't think about it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Kevin Brown really stuck it to me. I really didn't do anything against him. I hit like 3 ground balls and a pop-up. I mean, really, really great pitcher. Had good sink, good slider. I didn't do anything against him.
Didn't strike out, though.
I didn't strike out.
But you did get a hit in your first game, if I'm not correct, did you?
Yes, off the reliever. His name is Matthews. I believe it's Terry Matthews. I'm not really sure his first name, but his last name was Matthews. And we were losing at the time. So I go ahead with second and third. We're down by 1. I get to 2 strikes. I go, I got to put this in play, right? I put it in play. I get a base hit over the shortstop's head. Those 2 runs score. We take the lead. We end up adding 1 more run. Not by me, but by someone else. But I had the winning run.
Did you get the ball from your first hit?
Got the ball.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, still have it.
You were playing at the time. Was Nolan Ryan still playing on the Rangers?
Yes.
He was.
Yes.
Did you ever bat up against him?
Yes.
I marvel at Nolan Ryan for playing at such a high level at an age of it. But you watch him throw the ball, and there's very few pitchers in this day and age that throw the ball. It's like a Randy Johnson. You just threw the ball hard.
Oh, he threw the ball hard.
Yeah.
And,
He came out and threw out an opening pitch this last season, and he still threw it like 80 miles an hour.
He threw the ball hard.
Yeah.
Yes. And to be honest with you, the player said, if you get a hit off of him, don't look at him. I ended up getting a double. I hit a double off him. Well, I'm at second base. I have my head down. I'm not looking at you.
But you're playing against a legend.
Yeah.
Like Nolan Ryan he at that time he was probably in his 40s.
Yeah, definitely.
He's a legend. You ever
Grunting.
He grunts.
Grunting.
Well, who was that he punched in the head? They got the guy charged him out.
Robin
Ventura.
Yeah. He beat the hell out of Robin Ventura.
I show my youngest that. I'm like,
He had him in a headlock, I believe.
I say, this is why you never test an older guy. This is why.
There's a reason we're old.
But you ever
We made it here.
You ever get that starstruck when you go up against somebody like a Nolan Ryan, somebody who you've been watching on up? Do you ever get that in the major leagues?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely do it. I mean, there are names you play against it that you've seen on TV, and you're like, oh my God, I'm playing against this guy. We play Oakland, and I get a base hit. Who's on first? Mark McGwire. I'm like, oh my goodness. Play against New York. In
Big Mark McGwire or small Mark McGwire?
That was big Mark McGwire back in those
he
days.
was always big.
Yeah.
He was always big. But, you get hits in the Yankees in 92, 93, 94, 95. It's Don Mattingly.
Yeah.
Right?
Weirdest baseball swing ever.
But he was a fantastic hitter.
Well, now you played in.
What is it like when you're standing on first base? What's the conversation like with the first baseman? You see these guys. You see guys
as
talking all the time.
As a rookie, you don't
say
speak.
anything. Yeah. Shut up, Rook.
Exactly.
You played in an era where there was a lot of scandal in baseball, and it sort of muddied the baseball waters. I don't know if you ever, and please don't mention any names. I don't want to know who they are, but what did that feel like? I mean, did you hold it against those people that did that got involved in the performance enhancing drugs? What was that like?
Well, that's always a tough subject to talk about in a sense because these gentlemen are still trying to get into the Hall of Fame, and
which I find personally, I think it's a sin. I think it's a sin.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not condoned. It was not. It's obviously something that you should not do, or you should have not done it in a sense.
But steroids weren't banned in baseball until 2002, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know exactly
they weren't a banned
the year.
substance. I think it was 2002.
I think it was 92. Yeah. They became a Class 3 narcotic.
I don't know for sure, to be honest with you. But, most guys always are trying to stay on the field. So you don't condone anything that they're not supposed to be doing, but most guys want to be on the field. So they're going to take, a pain pill here, whatever they can get on, whatever they can take to get them on the field, which is not right in a sense, but
you're talking a job that's worth millions of dollars, and if you're not on the field, someone else is going to take your job. So you're going to take what you have to take to keep your job going.
Well, that's the mentality of the guy who has been hurt in a sense and is trying to come back.
I call it Wally Pipp syndrome. Wally Pipp got hurt. Right?
Poor Wally. I always felt bad for Wally Pipp. Wally Pipp gets hurt, and the rest is history with Lou Gehrig.
Yeah. There are a lot of players. There are a lot of players before they even, you know the players' names, right? Before they even played, or before they even assumingly taken, whatever they took, we're Hall of Famers anyway. We're Hall of Famers anyway. So you got to look at it in were they Hall of Famers or were they not Hall of Famers?
But my problem with the Hall of Fame is I think Hall of Fame is voted on by baseball writers. To me, baseball writers are frustrated athletes. I mean, look at a guy like Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray didn't get in the Hall of Fame, or Albert Bell.
Eddie Murray was at one time the highest paid player in Major League Baseball.
Albert Bell still isn't in the Hall of Fame because he wouldn't give interviews to baseball writers. My theory on it is the Hall of Fame is an exclusive club. If you want the steroid era players to get in there, why don't you let the Hall of Famers vote on who gets in the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's interesting. They have a players committee, right? After you can't get into the Hall of Fame for 10 years, you go into a special selection by players who make that decision, I guess. The fact that, the media has the say whether you go in or not is the integrity factor,
That's the Pete Rose syndrome type of thing.
That's the integrity factor.
You're going to tell me, guys, back in the day, I've heard stories that baseball players back in the 60s and 70s used to take amphetamines all the time. So you're going to let them in the Hall of Fame? And
it's a very
subject.
gray line.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very touchy subject.
You can do it, just don't get caught.
There are many guys who have done, they've taken, they take, 10 Red Bulls to get on the field or whatever the case may be. They're always trying to get an edge in a sense, and you're always trying to stay and play as long as you can.
Well, something was said once by somebody who I admired growing up.
Me?
No. Yeah, growing up, but when you were like 25 and I was 6. it was Mike. It was a roundtable discussion with Mike Schmidt, Greg Nettles, and Brooks Robinson. And Mike Schmidt said this, and it always stuck with me, and it kind of changed my perception about performance-enhancing drugs in Major League Baseball. Mike Schmidt said, if you're coming to me and you're going to say, if you take this, you'll be able to play better, play longer, and recover faster. He goes, you're goddamn right I'd take it. That's what he said. And I thought about it for a second. I said, if somebody were to come to me in my current job and tell me I can make all these three, I can make you do better, do it longer, and recover faster. You think I'm not going to do it to get an edge? Of course you are.
Well, it really depends. It really depends on your confidence level, per se. Let's say you are doing very, very well, not doing anything, right? And you're healthy and you're not doing anything. And you're competing with everybody. And you're hitting 300 and you're an all-star and you're this and you're that, right? You're like, I don't need anything, right? But there are some guys, not that they lose confidence, but they get hurt.
Yeah.
And when you get hurt, you want to play.
Like, I'm not saying it's right, but I think it's demonized too much.
It's you shouldn't be doing it, but you want to play. Doesn't mean you condone it. It's not the right thing to do. You're hurting your body. You're taking an illegal substance to play when everybody else is not doing it. You shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
You
Kevin,
should.
like you said,
There are drugs to say, right, that can get you better, right, without having to do this.
steroids became illegal in '92. You said, right?
I believe that's what it was.
Right. Baseball didn't test for steroids until 2002. Steroids in the Dominican Republic were legal back then. So who's to say in an off season a guy goes to the Dominican Republic, does all the steroids he wants, comes back and plays baseball? He did nothing wrong.
No,
Did nothing
I
wrong.
disagree. There's,
Morally he did it wrong.
Well,
morally
yeah,
against the game he did it wrong.
Yeah, there's
But-
an
but
integrity.
legally,
there's
yeah.
an integrity factor there.
it's-
You shouldn't be doing it. Okay,
exactly.
There's down. If it's a black and white, you shouldn't be doing it. But the human element comes into it. The human element comes in, and then you're like, okay.
People are always going to look for an edge.
They're always going to try to come back and do something to where they can come back to be that same guy, which is not something that you should be doing.
You
You said, it goes against the integrity of baseball. I'm not saying that steroids are right, but technically, I think baseball turned a blind eye to steroids for a while.
I'm sure, in
they
a
did.
sense,
Mark McGwire,
they definitely
Sosa.
they
Yeah, Mark
definitely
McGwire,
didn't
Sammy
want to
Sosa.
have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Because you can't say that you want this to happen because it's not the right thing.
You had this really storied career, and just to pull some stuff, you have an unassisted triple play. I think it's the only unassisted triple play.
No.
No,
I
it's
think
not.
now it's like there's 13 or 14.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's the only player in baseball history to have an unassisted triple play,
Cycle.
hit for the cycle, and have 3 home runs in one game.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what I read. That's
The
what I
only
read.
person in
Yes.
baseball to do not all in one game, obviously.
No, that's no
throughout
not,
your career.
Not all in one game, but that's just being lucky.
Being in the right place. A triple play is being in the right place at the right time and having baseball knowledge.
Out of all that stuff, what is your most proud major league moment?
I would say the proudest moment is to actually not only get to the major leagues, but to stay. Because that's a big
That's
thing.
what our friend Adam Burt said. That's exactly what he said. Adam played for the Philadelphia Flyers. He said getting there was one thing. Staying there was another.
Now, when you got called up, you never got sent back down, or did you?
did not get sent back down.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it comes time in every person's life. Everything has an expiration date where it's time to end it. Hang up the jersey.
Right.
How was that? How was that decision?
It's hard. It's hard. Especially I had some injuries. I torn my patella tendon in 2000. I had torn meniscus tears in my knees, as well as I tore my labrum and rotator cuff in my left shoulder. So I've had some injuries that I had to deal with to come back from. That took some time off in a sense. And age plays a very big factor. Once you hit the age of 32, 33,
The ripe old age.
you definitely are not the same player as you
But
once
the one thing I
was.
want to, what'd you play? You played for the Red Sox for what, 10 or 11 years?
Yes, a little over 10, just a hair.
And then you played for the Mets.
Yes.
How did you get separated from the Red Sox? Did you?
They had an option. They had an option year to pay me X amount of dollars, which was a good salary, or buy my salary, my contract out and pay a portion of it. And because I was older and not the same, I wasn't running the same way that I ran when I was in my 20s.
Especially as a shortstop.
And a shortstop. But at that moment, I wasn't a shortstop anymore because Nomar came.
That's right. You went
And
to third, right?
Garcia Parra?
Yeah.
Garcia Parra came, which was, at the time, I felt like I didn't want to move out of shortstop, and I just hit 27 homers and 100 RBI. That year in 95, he comes in 96. He's the number one pick, who now is putting pressure on taking over the position. He is doing fantastic in AAA. They are now trying to figure out, what do we do with John? What do we do with Nomar? Well, what happened in 95, they brought him up in 95, the year that I was having a great year. They played him at third. They played him at second. And he didn't play that well defensively. He was a natural shortstop. So they said, John, can you play second? And I said, I can, but I don't want to. I wanted to get traded, to be honest with you. When they first told me that, I said, I don't want to play here. I want to get traded. But then, speaking to my agent, my family, I play well at Fenway Park. I pull the ball. I hit homers. I hit doubles off the wall. I hit for high average. I walk. Why do I want to leave? I said, let me smarten up and play second base. So then Wade Boggs, my first year, became a free agent. And he went over to the Yankees to play, right? He won a World Series with the Yankees. Okay. So we put another person at third base. His name was Tim Nearing. Okay. Good shortstop. Very good shortstop. He now works for the Yankees as the assistant general manager for Cashman. And since I was playing shortstop, they put him at third because he was a bigger kid. He was like close to almost 6'1", 6'2". He had power, and he had hurt his back, so it slowed him down a little bit. He was a prototype third baseman. He fields a ground ball down to third base, one-handed, hurts his elbow, has to have Tommy John surgery. So our backup infielder was Jeff Fry. Do you know Jeff Fry?
I remember the name, but Fyre?
F-R, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he is a natural second baseman. So guess what? They put him at third, and he's throwing sidearm to first and taking Mo Vaughn off of first base. So Mo is getting crazy,
Not a guy you want pissed at you?
Yeah. So he's a natural second baseman. So they say, John, can you play third?
Now you see the writing on the wall.
Now I say, I don't want to play third, but you took me out of shortstop to play second. What's the big deal? I'll play third because I could throw the ball overhand to first base, and I didn't need to throw it sidearm. Jeff went to second. He played second. I played third. They offered me 5 more years on my contract, and that's how I stayed with the Red Sox that long, which was a fantastic thing. You always want to, players today want to really stay with one club. That's why they want those 10-year deals. They don't want to do 2 years and then have to move.
The Bobby Bonilla clause?
He's
getting paid to like 2031 or something like that.
July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day.
I know, exactly.
$1 million.
Well,
brilliant.
Players want to stay in one place.
Yeah.
So I was able to now stay in one place with my family and basically be happy.
Which doesn't happen much anymore. I mean,
right.
It's crazy.
So that's how I stay there. They offer me, but I then get hurt. Towards the end of my career, they had an option year for 2001. 2002. I end up, getting bought out of my contract, and I have an opportunity to play for any team. I get 2 contracts, one from the Mets, one from the Yankees.
You
Yes.
chose the Mets.
And I chose the Mets.
Wow, playing the biggest
I
arena.
could not be a Wade Boggs or a Roger Clemens or a Johnny Damon.
You know,
I could not do that.
John, I
You know,
liked you all.
I'm
I
a
liked
Re-
you all the way up until this point, but
I'm
now,
a- I'm
now
a
we got,
Red
now we got
Sox.
an issue. Now we got an issue.
Forget about those pinstripes.
Now we got an issue. Come on, how many
Pinstripes.
guys did it? You got Jacoby Ellsbury did it, Johnny Damon, Roger Clemens.
So you,
They're the evil empire.
Exactly.
I agree. And
you
I
wanna be
tell my
part of
kids, I tell my young ones when they were younger, I say, the Yankees, they break into people's houses and steal Christmas presents. It's what we do.
But going those two teams, the Mets had to be a homecoming for you anyway.
It was a great choice for me because I grew up kind of in my early, you talk about 8, 9, 10 years old. I used to go to Met games. My family was
The
a
old
Met.
Shea.
Yeah,
Shea
Shea
Stadium.
Stadium. My family was a Met family.
The old Shea Stadium was nice. I liked
I
the old
liked
Shea.
it too. Yeah.
It was more of like a hometown ballpark. But you after all this storied career, it's time to hang up the jersey. Were you sort of left out in the woods? I mean, did you know what your direction was, where you were going to
No,
do? Yeah.
no, did not know. I was a free agent. Bobby Valentine gets fired, and now they bring in Art Howell, and Art doesn't know me. I did play well for the Mets that year, but Piazza, I mean,
Art Howe used to coach the
Oakland.
Astros?
Oakland.
Oakland, was it?
Yes. So Robbie Alomar was playing second base, didn't have a good year. Alfonso at third didn't have a good year. Mo Vaughn at first didn't have a good year. Piazza had a good year, but not many players played well. So Bobby took the fall in a sense, like the manager usually does. They wanted to go in a different direction. And, he was fired, and then they moved on to Art Howell.
I bet you were hoping for Butch Hobson to be the coach of the Mets.
There's no question. Where was Butch, But yeah. And then I became a free agent and tried to go to different spring trainings and try to make the team. But now I'm 35, and I'm not running the same. I had somewhat of I looked like I was running hurt in a sense, and they didn't want that. They wanted young players to play. So I knew it was over at that point.
You're 35 years old, which is crazy. You're 35. Well, no, it's not that crazy. I think I was 39 when I retired. You're 39. Did you?
No, 35.
You're 35. Well, you're 35, but what's next for you?
What's next? I took 4 years off. Coming home to try to catch up to be dad in a sense, to grow.
You missed a lot of time with him, yeah.
Obviously, and loved it. Loved coming home, but then I had
Now you get a chance to go down to Jersey Shore every during the summer. You couldn't do that because of baseball season.
Exactly. So I took advantage of those 4 years, but after those 4 years, I decided that I wanted to coach, and I went into the coaching realm per se. Asked my, if it was a good decision to do that, my family, and ended up going there and had a great time. I coached with the Mets one season, and then I coached 10 years with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And you bounced around too. You were in Double-A, you were in Single A, Double-A, Triple-A. You were up in the big leagues for a little while as a hitting coach, I believe, right?
That's right. Three years, and Mattingly was the manager. I was in. It was we had two hitting coaches, and Mark McGuire was the head coach. I was the assistant.
You still talk to Mattingly?
Yeah.
My
We say
brother
hi.
Making $3.23 million in 1985. There was a big newspaper article. And I like Don Mattingly. I really did like him.
Oh, he's a great guy, great hitter. I mean,
my
great.
brother's here
baseball
tonight.
guy.
You saw my brother here tonight. You know my brother from Bill Better Boys Baseball in Jersey City. My brother's a big Mattingly fan. If you can get him autograph, I'd appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
It's good that he shaved the mustache, though. It didn't look good on him.
Come on, that's Donnie Baseball.
So
It's Donnie Baseball. Yes.
People don't like this, but I don't care. Donnie Baseball didn't.
Even though he was a Yankee, he's pretty cool.
John, you and I got a lot in common. You got a lot in common with the distaste. I always say, like Derek, you got somebody like Derek Jeter, okay? You take away.
You can't hate Derek Jeter.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how I can hate Derek Jeter. You take away Derek Jeter's good looks, his talent, his fame, his money.
You think he's good looking?
Me and him are the same person.
And he's fantastic athleticism.
And he's.
You think he's good looking? I don't know about that.
Me and him are the best.
Kevin's also from Kalamazoo, Michigan, too.
That money makes you attractive. That money makes you attractive. So but you move on in life and you go in a completely different direction. You're with financial, the financial world.
After the coaching career.
You want to talk about a 180?
Not really, because when I left coaching, I came home for 3 years, and I started to teach because it's in my blood. So I started to teach kids, in around home. I live, Homedale, the Homedale area in Monmouth County. I was teaching at a facility, just teaching kids how to hit. I run into a CEO of a financial services company. I'm teaching his kid. He likes the way, I talk to his kid, the way I explain things. He's looking to opening up a sports division. He wanted to take me out to dinner
For financial planning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he has a California friend in California that hires athletes, and he wanted to do the same because his friend was very successful hiring athletes because they are coachable, they're resilient, they have the characteristics of, being able to fail and come back and win in a sense. So he wanted to hire athletes to make them financial advisors. So he wanted me to come on board and head the division and be able to recruit athletes. So my job was to go to colleges and guys that were getting drafted, they would go to play, and guys that were not getting drafted, try to recruit them to be in finance.
So what's the name of the company that you're talking about here with the
Northeast Financial Network?
Northeast. So I want to put up a lower third because, it seems like they're educating, especially young kids. Young kids are about to, especially the ones that are about to go to the pros, their life is about to change, and they need some solid guidance from people who have been there and gone through it like yourself.
You see it with a lot of these athletes that come out of high school, they get drafted to these multi-million-dollar contracts, and they lose all their money.
Well, that is where we come in a sense that we want to touch the seniors, and we also want to touch anyone we can touch to make them understand that if they go pro as a high school player in any sport, not just Major League, it could be NFL, it could be football, tennis, golf,
Basketball.
Ping pong? Because we actually know a professional ping pong player.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll give you my card.
Absolutely. His name's Wally Green.
But we want to educate those college guys also, and also try to recruit them to be financial advisors. We want to build a company with athletes, and that is our thing per se, as well as educating them. And he's given me this opportunity. It fell on my lap in a sense.
It didn't fall on your lap. You worked your whole career to be able to give back like that.
Well, it's great to have something to do other than baseball that means something, So it does mean a lot to me to be able to try to develop this program and this part of the division that he has.
So technically, you left sports, but you're still in sports. So
I'm in
It
sports.
still gives you the feeling of being a team member
on the periphery.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
And obviously, the major league players, right? They have their agents, they have their financial advisors. You understand? So they're taken care of, but sometimes, as a pro athlete, okay, the advisor doesn't want to get fired, right? So they let them do what they want to do, so they end up buying these enormous houses and cars and stuff like that, so they can get in trouble very easily, so we educate the youth, from high school to college to minor leaguers. Like, I spoke to the AAA team of the Boston Red Sox last year, Worcester.
Mm-hmm. I read the article,
Red
as a matter
Sox.
of fact, yes.
And we're just trying to educate as many people as we can to understand that, you want to maintain that lifestyle. If whatever lifestyle you want to live, you want to maintain it. So
the lifestyle you're getting at 18 years old, you still want to have it when you're 50.
You want to have some. Yeah, you want to have it. You want to do the right things with it. And that's what we're trying to do.
So you said something earlier. It says they hired you because professional athletes are coachable.
Exactly.
They're coachable. You're back into the coaching realm, just in a different aspect of the sports world.
Yes.
And being coachable, I think, is if you're coachable, it's your strong suit, because not everybody is.
It's true. It's true because, everybody thinks differently. And, from a coaching standpoint, all right, you got to be able to be evaluated on your strengths and your weaknesses, and you have to understand that you have them. There are things you do very, very well. There are things that you don't do well. And when a coach who knows what they're doing evaluates you and tells you, listen, I can make you better. Like, I've coached minor leaguers. I've coached big leaguers when I was in the big leagues. They were making millions of dollars, and they don't want to hit the ball to the right side of the field.
Well, there's one caveat to that, and I'm going to tell you this is a true story. There's a caveat to what you said. So I knew a guy, his name was Nat Hickey. I knew his son really well, but I was really young. Nat Hickey is actually in the Basketball Hall of Fame for being the oldest player to ever play in the NBA. But Nat Hickey was also a college baseball coach. And we're talking 30s and 40s. He coached Stan Musial. And he always tried to change Stan Musial's batting stance. So as I knew this guy as a little kid, he would lead with that. And he goes, yeah, I was such a good coach. I tried to change Stan Musial's but he got a Christmas card from Stan Musial every year.
Well, you think about it, though. You have to know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
If you feel that he's a Hall of Famer, right, leave him alone.
Well, this was college. This obviously it's way before then. But so, John, listen, you've had this great career. I really do appreciate you coming in and talking to us. Is there anything you want to give out as a plug?
My company, Northeast Financial Network, we're based out of Cranford, New Jersey. If you're an athlete or anyone who needs any financial services, we can help you.
I think it's an athlete-run company.
Well, that division.
That division.
Yeah,
yes.
that division. Right. So once again, thank you for coming in, sitting down with us, going through some old stuff. It was really big for me. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah. So thanks,
John.
Thanks for
like
having
I said,
me.
I reached out to you last week. We have a lot of friends in common. We brought up like Johnny Shep and the Fa, and I mean that just brings me back to my childhood, man. That's great.
Yeah, I mean I had great teammates. Johnny Shep was one of them. Martise was great. Playing with Biggio and Mo Vaughn was fantastic.
Half of my high school class played college. We talked about Don Antonelli.
How come you didn't play?
I sucked. Johnny Shep. I mean, we know a lot of people, and that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise, in a sense, to actually walk on to a Division I team.
And like I said, you played Build Better Boys baseball in Jersey City with my brother.
Yeah.
I usually end the show with this question: "What's your suffering taught you?" Because we had this discussion on air. You're like, "Yeah, I'm going to tell you what the difference is. Is because all those hardships that you went through, you never saw them as suffering. Because you can look two different ways at things. You can be the victim or the victor. You chose just never to see them as obstacles, as more as challenges.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, adversity is something you learn from, and I never really took it as a negative. I actually took it as a dare, in a sense. I think I can't do well. Okay, let's
John
try
went
this
through
again.
more adversity than suffering. Walking on to Seton Hall, getting a scholarship, then getting drafted, working your way up through, minor leagues. I think that's adversity, not suffering, because you loved it.
I loved it.
So it's really not a real suffering story.
You still speak about it with such joy. I can see it in your face.
And those dates and everything.
Yeah, I mean, not only that. I mean, you have to be a little lucky, right? I mean, Butch Hobson, right?
Yeah.
He was in my corner.
God
you have to have somebody in your corner.
God bless Butch Hobson.
God bless Butch Hobson.
John,
is he your kid's like godfather or anything like that?
No. But we speak of each other very fondly, and he's a fantastic guy.
That is great. Because like I said, growing up a baseball fan, I hated the Red Sox, but Butch Hobson was like...
And I hated the Yankees. Yeah. And I still hate the Yankees.
That's why you signed with the Mets.
And that's why he's here, just so you know. John, thanks so much. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Pro Baseball Player with John Valentin. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned today. Jersey real is a real thing. Be the best right now rather than the best tomorrow. It takes just that one person to believe in you, and God bless Butch Hobson. Be coachable.
Uncle Butchie.
But most importantly, adversity is something that we can learn from. That's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can always listen before you watch. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And we're going to see you on the next episode.